Welcome back to Off the Pitch. My name's Blake. You can hear me on game days.
And my name's Marika. You can see me on game days, but right now we're taking it off the pitch. Okay, Blake, we're kicking off May this weekend. Isn't that so exciting?
The season and the year is already flying by. I was just having a conversation with someone about that. We're getting close to the halfway point in the year, like way too close. Marika, how are your New Year's resolutions coming along?
I knew you were going to ask me something like this because
we're getting closer to that point. I feel like we got to talk about it.
It's a good check-in. I will say I'm not the biggest, like I have to have one resolution for that year. But I've been really big on knocking things off on my bucket list. I have a 30 before 30 list.
That's a good idea.
And you know what? I'm going to bring it in one of these days because Blake, you would have so much fun making one. I think you'd love my list.
Maybe that'll
very hard.
Yeah, maybe that'll be an episode of the podcast at some point. Is I'll create my 30 under 30. We'll talk through yours.
Yes, and I think the key to having a successful bucket list is you have to put some realistic things, some like stretch things. Like not everything can just be like, oh, a new country. You know, you have to have little things. Okay,
Marika. Well, before we get into everything in this podcast, I did have to say, I was curious. I was thinking about what I've been doing this week. I feel like I always come on the podcast and want to talk about like, okay, let's catch up. Let's let the people know what's going on. And I was reminded of an irrational, maybe not irrational, but a fear that I have.
Okay,
it's
tell
the
crowd.
So I went to the dentist this morning, and I think that every time I go in, I get a little bit of a flutter because I'm just really nervous that I'm going to have cavities because growing up, I think I always had pretty sensitive teeth. I promise I brushed my teeth as a kid, and I was always afraid.
Were you flossing?
No cavities today. I was not a huge flosser when I was a kid, but now I floss consistently.
Okay, so. I would be so opposite of you because I personally love the dentist, like Dr. Shopper. She's my girl. So I had like braces growing up, and I was seeing them all the time, so they feel like a second family to me.
Fair.
It is a little weird though when they're like, working on my teeth, and then they ask me about my life. Like, how am I supposed to talk?
I actually thought about that today. My dentist was doing a good job, or like the person that was doing it was doing a really good job of being able to kind of have a conversation with me, but it was a very one-sided conversation. I think that's like an art, is being able to have a conversation with someone, but knowing they can't respond to you. So she did a good job.
I feel like same with that, or like a hairdresser. Like if your job is just to yap all day long, I guess we do that too. Yeah. But that is the dream life.
It is 100%. Speaking of which, I need to shout out my barber. He's a good dude. I won't let everyone know because I want to keep him. In fact, our videographer Hayden, it goes to the same barber. I'm not going to give him the last name, but Drew, you know who you are. We appreciate you.
I got to tell Carrie, you're my girl. I love you to pieces.
All right. Well, Marika, as we're talking about things going on in KC, let's go ahead and get straight into the KC kickoff. Kick us off with our first thing, Marika.
Absolutely. The first thing I want to talk about is the art scene in Kansas City because it's really on the rise now. In the upcoming weeks, we have two big art shows, the Brookside Art Fair and the Lenexa Art Fair. And then outside of that, First Fridays. It just started a little bit ago, but it's coming right up.
It absolutely is, Marika. I always love these kinds of things. In fact, when this episode does go out, there will be a First Fridays coming up. It's obviously the first Friday of every month. And Marika, I have an embarrassing story. Okay. It is that the first time someone asked me to go to First Fridays, I asked them, well, when is it?
That's tough.
For those of you that don't know, it is in the name. And I will take the hit on this one. Hey. Not proud. What's this trend right now? Not proud to say it, not proud of it, but man enough to say it.
I'm supposed to be the blonde of the group.
I'm not proud of it, but I'm man enough to say it. So I am man enough to say the fact that I didn't know when First Fridays was. But for those of you that are taking the hit, or I'm taking the hit for, it is the first Friday of every month. Out at the in the Crossroads Art District. It's so cool to kind of check out all the different things going on down there. As we talked about the Lenexa Art Fair as well as the Brookside Art Fair. All of the local artists do such a good job. I actually love getting local art to put up in my house or in my apartment because I feel like art is beautiful to have up in your apartment, but especially when it's local, it just makes it more special.
I couldn't agree more. There's something like classy about it. But what I want to say is that's such a lively experience when you go to these art fairs. Yeah. Like you will see people all the way from like infancy to elderly, and they're just having such a great time. Usually the artists are there so you can chat with them, get to know them. There's always a little drink stand with that. Maybe I frequent that, who knows. But anytime you go there, it's like live. They always have live music. Yep. It's just such a great way to start your weekend.
It absolutely is. And the weather being nice right now, it should be a lot of fun. Those ones coming up. Brookside Art Fair is the 1st through the 3rd here in May, and the Lenexa Art Fair the 9th. But Marika, something else going on May 9th is the Victory Run.
That's right.
The 5K. sponsored by the Victory Project, or all of the proceeds going towards the Victory Project. It's going to be a lot of fun. I intend to be there out at Sporting Park to run that 5K. Marika, will you join me?
You're putting me on the spot again because he knows this answer.
Yeah,
I'm unfortunately going out of town, so I can't be there. And I feel like this brings up the bigger topic of running as a hobby or not, that Blake and I truly, I think, talk about at least twice a week.
100%.
I'm not the biggest runner, but the one thing I do love to do is a 5K.
Okay.
Because it's so easy just to, wake up with your friends, get a quick workout in, or if you just want to, hot girl walk, that's always an option too. And it's for charity. I mean, you can't ask for a better scenario.
I have become a runner. Anyone close to me that knows me knows that I have become a runner over the last couple years. And it's something that, like you, hey, Marika, I hate to be that guy, but I was there once. I said I would never be a runner, and then it just happened. Over time, I had friends who did it, and I started to go to their races and cheer them on, and it was so much fun getting to see the excitement on their faces. If you have never run before, even if you don't intend to run, I would just say go to a race at some point. There's a lot of great races around Kansas City. I know we just had Rock the Parkway in April. It's a half marathon. In October, we have the full marathon, the Garmin Kansas City Marathon, that the KC Sports Commission does such a good job of setting up. It's so fun seeing the joy on everyone's faces as they finish a goal that they have been working at for months. You don't need to enjoy the actual running, but I just think you should check it out and go cheer people on. It's a lot of fun.
I couldn't agree more. And the best way to do it is at this Victory Run coming up on May 4th. It's so fun making those signs, being there for your friends. Maybe I'll try this running thing out.
I know you said you can't be there May 9th for this run, but I think you should check it out sometime. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of other great updates happening in the sporting world. And one of them is that Kids Day is right upon us on May 2nd. And the theme this year is Play Like a Kid with like Snoopy's Peanuts comic, which is going to be so fun.
I know. I always love the stuff they do for these kids' days. All the art that they have designed. A lot of it's done, by kids, and it gives off that vibe of like the childhood bliss that you kind of have. And I love the Play Like a Kid vibe that we have for that.
It's such a great idea.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
I'll flex a little bit. Some of my nieces sent in the art,
the
art for the players this year, which is just so fun seeing them, get the chance to show their creativity, but then I'll also have them come to the game and see their artwork up on the big video board. Yeah. It's just so exciting. Really quick, though, I wanted to show some of the items that we're giving out on Kids Day.
Marika.
I'll do the first one. This is available for free to anyone who comes out to the game. And it's a little rally towel. Look at that. Love the game with Snoopy. And, we got Charlie Brown, everyone.
Is it bad that I don't know all the characters on there? I'm sorry.
Blake, we're going to fix that.
Okay.
But tell us what you got.
Well, I've got this. It looks like Snoopy with a bunch of soccer balls, and it's a bucket hat. You have to tell me, how do I look?
Ooh!
And
this is a look.
You know what's the best part about this? It's reversible. Yeah,
Let's see it.
Look at this. It's reversible.
I mean,
how does it look?
Spectacular.
Just plain sporting on this side. I'm not going to keep this on the whole episode or the rest of the episode.
I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, it looks great.
But Marika, as it is Kids Day, I think we should go ahead and do our little, I know we always do power rankings on this show. I think we should do our power rankings of the best snacks, as it is Play Like a Kid, the best snacks that you would get at your soccer games as a kid.
I feel very competitive about this, but we've learned the best way we don't argue with each other is by doing some rock, paper, scissors first. So
rock, paper, scissors, decide who drafts first.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right.
Oh,
I think that's 2 times
2 for 2.
Yeah.
I am on a roll. Wait, that's kind of pressure for me to start, though, because,
you're going to pick wrong. I hope
my
you know that.
number 1 pick is just very equal with my number 2 pick, and I just know if I take one, you're going to take the other.
Okay.
But I have to do me. It makes me happy.
You.
So my first overall pick for the best halftime or post-game snack is a Capri Sun.
Yeah, that's a classic. Okay, actually, so the Capri Suns, I feel like, are a classic. And every time I have one to this day, I am reminded of my childhood.
24 years old, I would still buy them for myself right now.
I actually, when I moved into the house that I currently live in, it was with 3 other guys. And one of the moms was like, I'm just going to get you guys a bunch of Capri Suns. Don't know why, but she got us a bunch of Capri Suns. And so we all thought that we could tell the flavors distinctly. We were like, oh, these are like all different flavors.
Easy.
One of my roommate's girlfriends decided we were going to test that, to put that to the test, because she did not believe me whatsoever. And so we all blind taste tested. We all came up with different answers.
Yep.
How many of us do you think were right? There's 4 of us.
Maybe 1.
None of us were right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that all that to say, Capri Suns are fantastic, but the flavors are all the same.
Yeah, well, that's okay, because it still brings you so much happiness and joy as a little kid. It's like an upgrade from any other drink you can get, in my opinion.
So Marika, on that category, I'm also going with drinks. I'm going to go with Gatorade.
Yeah.
It is the best drink as a kid when you're playing sports, out sweating, doing all that, especially the yellow Gatorade. That's my go-to.
And there's something like it. I'll shout out Powerade too, because, you feel like you earned it. Like you played a game so hard, you're running over, whether you're 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, who cares? You open that drink up and it's just refreshing.
Absolutely, it is. What's your second pick, Marika?
My second pick is going to be a classic clementine or like orange slices. Yep. I mean, I think when you think about soccer moms running over to the kids at the team, they got a big bag of oranges ready to go.
That is a childhood classic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Marika, my second pick, I'm not going healthy here whatsoever.
That's okay.
I know you went clementines. I'm going with Gushers.
Ooh,
those were the absolute best. To this day, I still will eat Gushers sometimes as a snack.
Completely.
The best.
All right, my last pick. Now, this one, you're going to have to, remember a little bit. This is more of a nostalgic pull.
My eyes are closed. I'm
Grips.
remembering.
Do you remember the Grips at all?
What a good pull. I didn't have that on my list, but that would absolutely be on there.
It's a little bag like this big with just mini snacks where there was, the mini cookies or, Cheez-Its, all those options.
Wow.
And then you, rip to the little corner off and you're, pouring them in your hand or, straight into your mouth. Fantastic. I don't know if they still make them. I pray they do because I'm going to buy some today.
That is a blast from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Marika, my last pick, I'm going to go ahead. I guess this one's a little more healthy. I'm going to go with grapes. I think it's the perfect little snack after games. I still love grapes to this day. It just feels like the perfect little sweetness and enjoyment after you
get a little bit of health
hard.
too.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of whatever the nutrients are in there.
All right, so that was the top snacks that you can have halftime or post-game. But Blake, who are we talking to after this?
Well, after this, we're going to be hearing from a couple of people from KC2026 to talk all things World Cup coming up this summer. So stay with us here on Off the Pitch. We keep it rolling here on Off the Pitch as we are now welcomed by a couple of friends from KC2026. We have Mallory Cage and Chris Haghirian. The music liaison, Chris and Mallory, is the director of Fan Fest and events with KC 2026. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're thrilled to be here and very excited.
So to start things off, just tell us a little bit about this process. I'm sure, as many fans know, has been going on for a really long time. We've been known now that we're a host city for this for a while, but this whole process started even before that. So just tell us how you guys have gotten involved with KC 2026 and kind of a bit of the process of what that's been like.
Yeah, I can start with maybe some more of the history and backstory. So yeah, this has been a process since I believe 2016 is when the bid really started taking off. And I know Sporting in the history of Lamar Hunt and then Clark and Cliff have been instrumental in working with the Sports Commission and at the time Catherine Holland and leading that bid. And so when we were awarded a few years ago, there was already a really great foundation in place. They had tapped a lot of the experts in this community and beyond to start putting this together and really put it very thoughtfully together. So now we've been rolling and we are less than 2 weeks out from when we'll actually start building the FIFA Fan Festival at the National World War I Museum. So it's hard to believe. In some ways, it seems like not that long ago that we were 700 days out. And now it's in the 50s.
Yep.
So
I swear you blink and it just goes by like that.
When 2026 hit, it definitely was like the community was like, oh, it's coming up now. So, but we've been really lucky. We have incredible partners here in Kansas City. You know, Populous is leading our event design. And they, for those that don't know, they have worked on 13 of the 16 stadiums for the World Cup. They have incredible experience. But then we also have so many experts in their field, and Chris will talk a little bit about his experience. You know, we work with Kelly Wenzel with O'Neill Events, and she's done Boulevardia and the Irish Festival, and just knows the folks to reach out to. And one thing we've focused on this whole time is how can we make this distinctly Kansas City, and that was really important to us, is to bring in those that know the community and know what's going on here, so that we can share that with our locals, but also with those coming to visit us. So that's been a big part for us.
Something that you mentioned is how just intentional, detailed, and thoughtful you are when you bring Kansas City to the limelight of, the whole world as they looking forward to the summer. Now, if you didn't know, KC is the smallest market that will be a host city for base camps, hosting games. What do you think makes this area so special for wanting these big named countries to come to Kansas City?
Everything I've heard is it's all about our hospitality. So the final for the World Cup in 2022 was watched by 1 in every 5 people around the world. It is unbelievable how big this is. Yeah. Like, this is bigger than anything we've ever experienced. And so when we got the opportunity, you hear the stories, Sporting, the Chiefs, and the Royals have all kind of helped roll out this red carpet to show off. But then what it is it's the spirit of Kansas City. Those of us that live here know how great this city really is. And between our art scene, restaurant, music, there's so much to discover. And that's what's really important to us in Fan Festival is how do we bring that to life and show that off? Because we want folks to come, maybe think, oh, I'm going to Kansas City just to see a soccer game. But then they're coming back later because it was such an incredible experience. So that's really what our goal is here.
So I want to talk to Kristen here in a moment about what the events are kind of going to look like. But Mallory, tell us a little bit about what an event is going to look like if a fan were to go to this Fan Fest.
Yeah, so we want everyone to feel like they can come to this Fan Festival, first off. So if you are a huge soccer fan, you've had sporting matches or passes this whole time, we want you to come because we're going to be showing all of the games. But also if maybe you're just a little curious about what's going on, we want you to come too. And that's a big part of how we've been focusing on our music and how we've been approaching it from an experience standpoint. So we're going to have matches shown if they're live during that time. We have over 40 local bands. Some of you may have seen the announcement about our headliners. We're going to have local food and beverage restaurants. We're going to have entertainment for kids, adults, just alike. We want you to come and spend a couple hours with us and really enjoy the time and feel like you got to know Kansas City a little better.
Now you mentioned it, but music is a big conversation topic that's been in the news lately as we begin excited for Fan Fest coming this summer. We have big names like Chainsmokers, Florida, all those great talent acts. But something that I'm so excited for is the local talent that we're debuting on such a big stage. So if you guys could talk to us a little bit about that local talent.
Yeah, I'm Chris Haghirian, and I've been lucky to be part of Kelly O'Neill's life at O'Neill events and worked with her for Boulevardia and Irish Fest. And whenever she calls, it's always something fun. And when this was announced and looming, I did everything I could to be in the conversation. So happy to be here. My background is very much Kansas City music. Mm-hmm. I have a radio show on 90.9 The Bridge called the 8160, where every Tuesday night we talk about playing music from the 816 and surrounding area codes for an hour, thus the 8160. And last night we had a show and I debuted a brand new record from a musician and we talked all about it and told the story behind it. And I'm a chronic overthinker. So game 1, Mexico versus South Africa, June 11th at 2 p.m., we have DJs opening that show. FK Menace, who's from Mexico, his family in Mexico are luchadors, and he DJs in a luchador mask.
Yeah.
And they do their DJ production with Juan Carlos. In this project, he goes by the OG. His family owned a taco restaurant, Mexican restaurant that just closed. They're so ingrained in the community. So you're going to see that before Mexico versus South Africa at 2 p.m. on June 11th. And then after that, we have Making Movies, who are a Latin Grammy-nominated act who live here in Kansas City. The lead singer is Panamanian. But there's moments like that through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then not just bands, but also DJs. Like when Colombia plays, we have a DJ who's from Colombia. When African teams play, we have different DJs from Ghana and Kenya. And there's different DJ collectives that are entirely Kenyan. And they all live here.
Yeah.
And this is just giving them this amazing stage to shine on when their countries will play football on the international stage. And like you said, 1 out of 5 people tuning in at some point. But it's really an amazing thing to showcase so many great Kansas City acts that I love and fortunately now get a bigger stage.
Yeah, Chris, it's so interesting. I can tell your passion for the
thank
city
you.
and just the way that you're talking. And I think it's so interesting how there's going to be watch parties and fan fests and all these kind of things all across the world,
right?
Or all across the United States, really all across the world. All across the United States especially. But you guys are doing such a good job at making this so uniquely Kansas City. And I think these are so many pockets of Kansas City that people don't always get the opportunity to see. And so just talk to how that process has been for you of discovering it and seeing some of these different pockets and cultures in Kansas City.
I'm an absolute nerd. So
I love it.
This is my life. And, these bands and DJs, they play out every night of the week. They also play at your Christmas parties, at your wedding receptions and those sorts of things. But now they're going to get a chance to be on the larger stage. And even more cool than that is if it can connect to their heritage, where their family lives still, where their family came from or immigrated from. It's going to make for some really emotional moments. And I got some amazing texts back. And The response when we launched the lineup on that Thursday at 9 a.m. was so positive, and I wondered at first how it would be received because not every city's doing a fan fest. Kansas City is also free. Dallas is paid. Yeah. LA is paid. You have to pay to be there. And then I was wondering how it would be received with all the local, but there's so many local acts and DJs. Somebody seems connected to. They know them. Their friend knows them. They've seen them at the Ship or at Knuckleheads or at a club. But there was so much positivity around that. It was awesome to see. And then when you can connect it to the heritage, that's been awesome too.
I actually just discovered the Ship recently. I had never been there, but it's fun. I didn't realize how many different artists and different kinds of things they've got going on there.
Every night of the week, there's something cool there in multiple rooms.
Yeah. It's definitely a fun place to go. Something that is so beautiful about what you talk about is the opportunity that we get to showcase this KC talent, that we make these people coming into Kansas City feel like they're home. And, you know, we think of like people like Tech 9, we think about KC talent. And I'm so excited to see who's going to be like the next Tech 9 or next like breakout star just because we gave them this opportunity. Now, a question maybe a little bit for you, Mallory, or both of you in general. What are other things that are happening at FanFest besides the concert entertaining experience for the people who are coming in maybe with their families or maybe they're coming as an adult? Like, what could it look like for them?
Yeah, so it's really designed to be kind of a create your own experience. So we have, for those of you who've been to the South National World War I Museum and Memorial Lawn, it's a huge space. So we're going to have areas with shade where you can relax. We're going to have areas where you can be right up front cheering for the team. We're going to bring in folks to help kind of learn some of the different teams and chants. You know, we are the only host city hosting 4 teams here in the city. So the closest one, I think, is 2. And we want to do everything we can to make those teams and those folks feel welcome. So we'll be teaching those chants. We'll be sharing some of those cheers. We have potentially some musical artists coming from those countries as well. And then, so a lot of this, at the heart of it, it is football, it is soccer. And that's what this is. But we're trying to find these ways, whether it's, you know, if we do some kind of barbecue competition where we're showing off some of the different flavors from the world versus what we know and love as barbecue here in Kansas City, and just kind of enjoying that piece together. So what we really hope, and I think, you know, and listening Chris talk about the music and how these artists come back to the different their different countries and heritage. What I'm most excited about is to show these visitors, but also to show Kansas Cityans how much of this is here all the time and that they might not even know. You mentioned just learning about the Ship. Yeah. You know, those are things that are here and are parts of things that you can continue to do after the World Cup. And we want to show that off and really let folks kind of come together under the guise of this experience. So.
Yeah, and you talked about where the event's going to be. It's going to be at the National World War I Museum in that lawn area. And what, I mean, obviously, when you think of Kansas City, that's a place that everyone thinks of. But what do you guys think is going to be so special about having all of this in that venue?
Well, I think for the OGs, that space was where Spirit Fest was before you guys were born.
I was going to say, I'm not so familiar.
I mean, I remember in 1998, 99, I saw Moby play there when Play just came out, which was a huge record, and he was just at Coachella and crushing it out there. And I saw Bob Dylan play there years ago. And then after that, you know, it became other festival grounds. And then last year, Chapel Roan did 2 nights there, her whole 8-show tour, 35,000 people out there each night. And it's cool when you can put acts that don't normally get to play in that arena, that space, that venue on that stage and have them love that light and get that spotlight they deserve. And one of the good stories that you're alluding to and talking about is bringing people home. And there's a musician named Hales, Hailes, Hales. She's playing the festival. And she's from here originally and moved to New York. She was on Broadway. Wow. She performed on Broadway in Hadestown.
Oh my gosh, I love that show.
COVID hits.
I'm like geeking out.
And COVID hits. So she's in lockdown in New York, and I'm sure a very tiny, much smaller than the studio apartment. And she starts leaning into her own music and writing her own music, recording her own music, and it takes off. She moves back to Kansas City, starts selling out shows, and this will be one of her first huge shows to show off what she's been doing for so long on Broadway, and now bring it here to Liberty Memorial and be part of FIFA. So I'm so excited for that, those moments. For me to nerd out about and let other people enjoy what we've known as the Kansas City music community for a while, but to elevate a little bit.
I feel like I could listen to you talk about each one of these artists in every their story. It's just so incredible to hear. I feel like that is what makes it so uniquely Kansas City, is the fact that all of these people have called this place home, or they have some sort of tie to Kansas City. And I mean, you can bring in all the big name artists, and it sounds like there's going to be some big name artists at this event as well. But I think having that just makes it feel so much more special, and makes the people of Kansas City, like you said, Mallory, kind of realize that, wait, this is all still here. I can still come back and, on any given weekend, go hear some of this.
Now, I know a lot that we've been talking about is like the why you should come and why we should be excited. And I mean, I already have my tickets for like half the days you guys talked about. But something that's really exciting to know is that every single day of World Cup this summer, there's going to be somewhere to go. So on those days that you guys are activating, head over to FanFest. But on the days that you guys are going to have to shut down, we're also going to be having our soccer capital celebrations at Sporting Park as well, with some great local talent coming in as well. So if you don't know and you're looking for something to do, literally every day, either you're over at our place or yours. And so the question I want to flip to you guys is, how can people access this? I know it's really rare and exciting that this is a free event for the public, but I know I have my tickets. How can other people get theirs?
Yeah, I know Chris alluded to it. We are one of the only free FIFA fan festivals, and we're very proud of that. And so you can get your tickets right now if you go to kansascityfc.com, and that's where you can get a free general admission pass. If any of these artists, any of these games are really of interest of you, we do recommend maybe checking out our premium garden. That's going to get you guaranteed entry. You don't have to worry about it. You can come at any point.
For the Chainsmokers night.
Yeah. So if you want to find Chris, that's right.
I was like, I'll see you there.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's we tried to also make it very affordable too. So even if you are looking to invest just a little bit, that gives you an option. We have another option above that if you're looking for even more. But no, right now, and then we're working on building. If you join us for a fan festival, you're going to get looped into our communications. So you opt into that marketing, but that way you'll get the information about everything else going on. We're really working hard with the Mid-American Regional Council. We've got a director of community impact that is around the community all the time trying to learn about these things so that we can put them out there, because we want visitors to come see us. I want everybody to hang out with me as much as possible, but I also want them to go and explore all of the parts of the city. And in a few weeks, you're going to learn about our Connect KC bus transportation system. We've got buses going all over the metro, and that's going to be incredibly affordable. You've probably seen some of the news about some of the other communities. Sure. Again, Kansas City is really trying to lead the way on making sure that folks can get around and explore.
You talked a little bit about the communications, but where's the best place that fans can stay in touch with all the stuff going on?
Our social media is always one of the best places. Our Instagram, Twitter, I guess it's X now. Until I'm not the social media manager.
I'll always say Twitter.
Is going to be the best place, and that's where we released the poster last week. And as we finalize some more of these entertainment and other opportunities, that's where it'll come out as well.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Course. You can always check out the websites online through our watch parties or theirs to get more information, more access. I think this is one of the few times where I would love to get more email marketing about it, so we always know what's going on. But again, thank you both so much for joining us here today. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Becky Wiseman. Welcome back to Off the Pitch. We have joining us here today is Becky Wiseman, who is the mental performance coach here at Sporting Kansas City. Now, Becky, we are so excited to finally have you on. The first thing I wanted to talk about is May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And diving in on just your background, like what brought you to working in mental health, and how did you make that connection from mental health to the sports industry?
That's a walk down memory.
We're jumping right in.
It's a walk down memory lane. So, it's an interesting path that I've taken, because I started really working with adolescents and at-risk populations. So individuals who had been in some trouble with the law and with the school systems. And so I had worked with them as kind of a case management, helping them with directions of their lives. And that was early on, and I was kind of hooked at that point. Found out that was the hardest job and the most rewarding job I had ever had. So continued with that area of work, and then got into my master's program, where really I just loved the clinical setting, the one-on-one, the direct care, the work. I loved being a part of people's stories and felt such a huge amount of respect for individuals who walk in and say, hey, I want to make my very complicated life a little bit easier, a little bit better for myself, and I'm willing to do what I need to do in order to make that happen. And I just felt like an instant connection with people who were at that space in their lives. And then that led me to working with Children's Mercy, with their sports medicine department, and just really finding that interactions with athletes, just highly motivated people who wanted better for themselves. I mean, they were used to working hard, and with injury or something going on with their lives, it was so their hard work just wasn't enough. So they were wanting to, what is that next thing? And that, of course, was that exploring that mental place of that and piece of that. So with that connection with sporting, that's what led me into working with a club and starting with first team, second team, and the academy. So I got all different ages and different areas of life and different areas of career. So it's really been a long journey, but a really great journey.
Well, Marika, I know I can't speak for everyone, but I am someone who has definitely had, you go through all of that, the struggles that I feel like everyone who, as you get older, you become a professional, there's a lot of struggles with dealing with your mental health. And so it's so good to see that being normalized in the professional setting here with Sporting KC. And like you said, you kind of work with all ages. Do you find that kids, as they grow up and become professionals, when they kind of understand how to better handle that, it helps them as they become a professional?
Absolutely. I think, with understanding that for sure the academy level, they're doing all of this for the very first time.
Yeah.
So they are kind of learning as they go and learning as they grow. And when you have the life experience of a 15, 16-year-old, you're really looking around to say, okay, am I doing this right? Am I heading in the right direction? And so having adults around saying, yeah, you are, or no, you are not. Like, let's try, change course. But I think having that experience at that academy level, then as they get into that professional, I hear my first team guys say, oh yeah, I worked with someone back in college, or I worked with someone in the academy. So they're aware of who I am and what my role does. And so they're more willing and more open to have that discussion. And it just, it becomes part of their training, part of their career. And I think that's really helpful for them.
I think it is amazing just how much awareness is continually to growing with the, necessity of having mental health in the sports world, because there's obviously so many studies out there that show how beneficial sports is mentally. The teamwork skills, the bonding, but they don't really talk about the negative sides as much when it comes with pressure, burnout, especially with professional athletes, negativity you might face. So obviously you can't talk about what you chat with our players,
right.
We're not crossing that line. But how do you deal with some of those tough topics like burnout?
Yeah, I think it is the understanding of, in a typical job that we have, you go to work, you may have some off time, you may have a day where it's it's just not that busy, or I can just kind of phone in today, or I'm just going to do a little bit of the minimum. That's just not an arena that professional athletes have. They do not have that luxury. Every day, it's the expectation that you show up and that you emotionally are ready, that you're physically ready, that your motivation is on point. And so it's every day finding that emotional place and that motivated place to perform day in and day out. And then doing that as hard as you can and working your body as hard as you can, and then hoping things turn out the way that you want to turn out. Not only just results of a game, but also playtime, keeping your body healthy, the team performing in the way they ultimately would like to perform. So it is every day needing to show up at that level that I think for people who are in their commute in, they're thinking, I may just spend a little time, online and a little time here.
There's no remote.
There's no remote to do. So yeah, I think it is doing that, and at a very young age, anywhere from 15 on up to into their 30s, but that is a really young age to know how to tap into that day in and day out.
It's so interesting to hear about, like you talked about, kind of the the struggles of maybe not being where you want to be as a professional athlete. And I played a lot of golf in high school, and I looked at playing in college, and I know, I mean, any individual sport, you see a lot of that. Like, I've learned so much about myself and my mental health through golf, which, like, it sounds so, so simple, but it has been incredible as I've gotten older to see how much I have learned, because I didn't play at the college level. I was like, oh, I wasted all that time. But now I look back and I see how much I actually gained from sports and from that. And so I'm sure you see a lot of that in the players and all the people that you work with, how much sports benefits them. But I do want to kind of ask about, the typical day for you. What does it, I guess, typically look like when you're working with the athletes here, and just in general, what does a typical day for Becky Wiseman look like?
Yeah, the day may be different depending on where I start and end, because of our teams are at different facilities. And a lot of times I will have appointments, or I'll have players who will reach out and say, hey, can we meet today? Or, hey, a coach may say, are you going to be at the facility today? Let's touch base. So it kind of depends. I come in, I do my own self-care. I am someone who I do practice what I preach when it comes to meditation, and it comes to having those times in nature and spending a little bit of time. I think that's really important for just all of our well-being. And then coming in, one of my favorite things is to go to trainings and to be out and watch the trainings. I always say I married into soccer. I married in. My husband plays, and really kind of fell in love with him and the game at that time. But I truly find, like, just the trainings and watching the players, there's just such a beauty to it. And so I really very much enjoy that. And the competitiveness I see in trainings are always really great. So we'll go to that. And then I'm just available. So if players are saying, hey, can we touch base? So I have that one-on-one. At the academy level, we do workshops once a month. And so that's really teaching kind of that those skills and those tools, or just having those discussions. Sometimes I think a lot where you're like, here's tools, here's another tool, here's a breathing exercise, here's this. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's just a space of saying what it feels like to do this day in and day out, what it feels like to, put all of your efforts into one thing and it not turn exactly how you would hope. So I think with that, it is, being available for the players one-on-one. That may be, eating lunches with them. That may be consulting with coaches about communication with players and how to deliver a message in the way that they want it to be delivered. And then ultimately, helping them get to whatever success looks like for them. That can be discussions about relationships. That can be discussions about families. That can be discussions about soccer. I'm kind of there for all of it.
I love that you represent so much more than the player on the field, but the player, like, off the pitch. Well, name of the show right there. But seeing how they are in the day-to-day life and helping that support, because there's, things that might be happening at home may be affecting, what's happening in their job or in their life. I want to focus a little bit on the soccer side, because you mentioned it with your husband. But what about the sport of soccer is so just unique to you, especially in like a mental capacity space, like that really stands out when you're talking to those players individually, or just when you're loving the sport?
Right. I think for just my own observation of soccer and what I see with the different athletes that I work with, soccer, they tend to be some cognitive individuals. They tend to be thinkers. And I think it being a team sport, you would think, oh, well, I mean, that team is what you have to rely upon, which is absolutely true. But each individual, and mostly when you get it to the level that we are dealing with in our club, is they are high-achieving individuals. And so I think with soccer, the thing I love about it is how connected it is. And it is a game where at any time, as a player, you are watching where that ball is going. You are ready to receive. You are ready. And so it's just like a really, I don't know, it's kind of a beautiful dance out there. Yeah. And so I definitely appreciate that. And I think, again, with the players in that, they start at such a young age. And so many of our players, their parents introduced them to the game. Their uncle introduced them to the game. So it's not just something they picked up, but it's something really in their families, in their heritage, all of that. And so the love for the game I feel is like kind of at a different level than maybe even some other sports. They just have a true love, and it is a game that's been passed down from generations to generations, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a beautiful way to put. I'm like tearing up a little bit the way you described that. Now, something we love to do really quickly on the show is our rapid fire questions. Okay. And you're in tune with the team, you're in tune with soccer, you're in tune with Kansas City in general. So I'm really excited to hear your takes on these.
Okay. No pressure.
Start us off, Blake.
So we want to know your favorite KC restaurant or coffee shop.
Oh, KC. Okay, so I am pretty close to Summer Moon.
Yep.
And I just think it's the cutest little area. I love it. And it's also right next to Swig, which is my guilty pleasure. I cannot get enough of it. So I would say that to go and meet a friend, it's like a super comfy spot.
I love that. What is your hidden gem in the area? Something that people might not know about.
Hidden gem. I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm guessing for me, it takes me back to when my kids were small, and it's Antioch Park. Mm-hmm. And that was we had birthday parties there, and I love that they have a pond. We'd count the turtles as we walked. I mean, my kids are in college now, so this is me reflecting way back. But I just thought it was so beautiful and well taken care of. And every time I drive by there or in there, it just has a feeling of and I think it's such a beautiful area.
It really is.
I love that. What about from the mental health side of things? What's your favorite thing to do for your own wellness?
My own wellness, I mean, I would say probably time with my family always is, they are always my grounding place, and they are, just really great people, and we have a good time together, so that's always helpful. But some practices that I do is a daily meditation. And for me, that is not, hours and hours of sitting still, because I would be terrible at that. Mine is more so, it could be anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes of just breathing through and being intentional, paying attention to my breathing, to where my mind goes, just gently bringing it back to the present moment. And doing that over and over allows me to be in different situations where there may be high pressure or there may be high emotions, and I could be feeling that. And rather getting, carried off away with that, it brings me back to, okay, in this moment, what do I need? In this moment, what can I do? And sometimes it's just absolutely being still. But that practice has been very, very helpful. And in my past, I've worked in very, very chaotic, sometimes it can be chaotic around here, but very chaotic locations. And you can get swept up in that really, really quickly. And then your nervous system is going to be a mess. So really just kind of helps center that nervous system.
I love that. I'm a yoga girl, so I'm with you on that.
Yes, yep.
My next rapid fire one, you've been with the club for a while. So what's your favorite sporting moment?
Oh my gosh. I think probably when the whole club went to LA.
Yeah.
And that was just, there was so much pride in all of us being there together and cheering on the team and players, that we loved, and we felt like this was something. I also loved being in a different city and seeing how they celebrate their team. Yeah. And all of it was just such a great moment and such a great feel. I feel like that definitely sticks out, and how much hard work so many people had to put in place to do that. It was remarkable. About how everything went so well, and that people were so organized, which is not one of my strong suits. Right. So how well organized they were and how they delivered that was just great.
That was such a fun trip.
It was indeed. That Open Cup final. Well, Becky, thank you so much for joining us here on Off the Pitch.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Well, that wraps things up here on Off the Pitch. Thanks to Becky. Thanks to our friends at KC2026. Marika, it was another fun episode. You can find us on social media at Sporting KC everywhere, and myself at Blake Arnie everywhere. Marika.
And then you can find me at Marika Davis _ on all your social platforms. Then next we will be at Sporting Park on May 2nd for Kids Day, and then May 13th, that Wednesday gig coming up. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Off the pitch.